This video is not intended to encourage or glorify any kind of drug use. The sole purpose of these videos is to educate you on the dangers of what these substances can do to you. Please do not do any of the acts mentioned in this video. I repeat, do not do any of the acts mentioned in this video. First off, I would like to say that ether really messed me up, not just physically, but spiritually as well. What scared me the most is that I have read other ether experiences very similar to mine. I realized that a lot of people seem to forget most of their ether experiences after they come down from the trip, as did I, but I'll try my hardest to explain it in full detail. Setting. It all started in a tractor. My father is a rice farmer in Texas. I was cultivating this field when it started to get really rough in the cab of the tractor. There was a can of starter fluid in the cab by my feet that we used to start the tractor on cold mornings, and next to that was a large jack. I hit a big bump and the jack punctured a pretty large hole in the can. I hadn't even noticed at first, except for the distinct smell of fuel. At first, I didn't pay any attention, for you smell a lot of weird things in the cab of a tractor. Experience. For those of you who don't know, the cab of a tractor is basically airtight, so I started to drive the tractor back to the fuel tank when I got a very fast wave of euphoria, a dream state if you will. I felt really good and everything I looked at seemed non-existent. The radio was playing and suddenly I felt like I was in some sort of movie. I noticed patterns in the ground, my feet started to become numb, all my limbs became surreal. After about 15 minutes of zoning in and out, just sitting there in the tractor, I started to look and focus on a fence post with the horizon in the background. I would stare at the post and my center of focus would tilt a little to the left while everything outside the center of focus would tilt to the right. I knew I was messed up then, but this visual hallucination so greatly amused me that I had no concern for the fact that I was just going deeper and deeper into the trip. This next part is the peak of the experience, and thus the hardest to explain, but I will try my hardest. While staring off, everything went black, but there were these beautiful colors right in front of my face. I was floating in a place and there were souls all around me, but their eyes were all closed. I was looking around and everyone's eyes were closed except mine. I was on this tape and it was playing the following message. I wish everyone's life was on a tape of me saying blank. I don't remember what the word was, but I do remember thinking, well goddamn, I never would have guessed the meaning of life would have been so simple. Suddenly I got pulled from the people and tossed into oblivion. I had undoubtedly strayed to a part of the brain and/or universe man was not supposed to know of. It was like some guardian had noticed me and disposed of the awakened one. As I drifted, I started to feel regret and pain, like I didn't like the meaning of life because it was so obvious. Deeper and deeper I drifted, then suddenly a voice came on an intercom and said, "Warning, your life will repeat in 10, 9, whoosh." I was sucked into this type of black hole with the counter still ticking in my head. 8, 7, 6. My life started to play from the beginning to end. I remembered things from my childhood. I saw visions of my family. I remembered that all the times I had been a bad child. I started to curse whoever it was that had made life this way. 5, 4. My life continued to play out up until, boom. I opened my eyes and my hands were in front of my face. Everything was red and blurry and there was this loud ringing like a dead dial tone in my head. I kicked open the cab of the tractor and jumped out. 3, 2, 1, 0. I ran down a dirt road, horrified and screaming at the top of my lungs. No! I dropped to my knees and waited for the inevitable. The dial tone faded out, everything became clear. I took a deep breath and realized I was still here. I gathered myself up and got to my feet. Although my knees were weak, I started to walk back to the tractor where I found the starter fluid can busted open. I have been spiritually destroyed from this experience. Whereas I used to believe in God, Satan, heaven, and hell, I find myself totally doubting their existence. I feel as if I really did venture off.
First, I want you to realise that the reason why this trip lasted so long was because I refueled myself at different times and because I hit the bottle wrong and possibly swallowed some fumes. Today I was greeted in gym class by my friend Cheech with a humongous smile on his face, asking me, "Dude, do you want some ether?" I laughed because of the rarity of this substance in high school. He then pulled out a water bottle with its contents filled approximately 1/10 of the way up with a clear substance. He then explained how he'd extracted this ether personally from engine starting fluid. This seemed quite impressive and made me think of how much more grandeur it was. I have had my share of marijuana, cigarettes, alcohol, caffeine, Valium, and other benzodiazepines, Vicodin, opium, N20, household inhalants, ecstasy, Adderall, and DXM. None of these could have helped me deal with what happened next. So we each take 4 deep hits inside the gym locker room, causing us and the place to reek with a rubbing alcohol-like smell, and scampered off. I'm enjoying this quite a lot and insist that we take more hits during our next lunch period, so we do right outside. As we watch our breath congeal into thicker clouds of smoke, it was snowing outside so our breath was visible. I realised then just how much of a fall I'd set myself up for. While stumbling my way to the library with my friend Cheech, a couple of our mutual friends complimented the gasoline-like smell that follows us. I started to witness everything out of my focus wave and flicker. Not long afterwards, everything was out of focus. I was out of my mind with a numbness of Vicodin, the blur of alcohol and marijuana, and the dumbfoundedness of Valium. I floatingly witnessed how fast my lunch period was completely over. I then sat down in history. My face was on fire, my hands were blocks of ice. My breath was thin and I felt suffocated as I sweat a large profusely. I felt an immense fear of impending doom. The rest of what is told is unclear and may lack in detail. I stumbled my way out of the classroom and my friend Gizmo accompanied me. I passed out and woke up with her handing me water and aiding my current intoxicated condition. She clearly saved my life and brought me out of a sheer state of panic. The rest of my day was unconcentrated and I was actually still tempted to do more ether. It must be addictive to make somebody who it almost killed to pay a second visit. Ether is not for me. From what I experienced, I don't think it's for anyone. It's entirely up to you whether you want to inhale this chemical.
To quote Hunter S. Thompson, the only thing that really worried me was the ether. There's nothing in the world more helpless and irresponsible and depraved than a man in the depths of an ether binge, and I knew we'd get into that rotten stuff pretty soon. Oh, the deprivation it does indeed cause. I found myself watching Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, seeing them trip, if you may call it trip, on ether. How to do it, where to get it. Thank you for the internet. Within minutes, I was at the gas station across the street buying a canister of your everyday starter fluid. Great, $2, and I was set. I went home, diluted the ether in a plastic Ziploc bag, and was set to go. I poured it onto a rag and went inhale crazy. It was intense at first, very intense smell I do mean. In the film they practically shove the rag up their nose, but the smell permeates the room so I get a sense of what I will be putting near your nose, and I start to not like it. I do it anyways, and within 4 huffs, 4 good, decent Johnny Depp-sized huffs, I'm gone. Gone unlike anything that I've ever been gone on before. I couldn't talk right. Echoes. Everywhere there were echoes. My friend had Fear and Loathing on his computer, so he put it back on the ether part. The echoing was too intense. I turned and saw Seinfeld on the television. Better. Not intense echoing, but they still had a nice echo. As ether does, it soon wore off. My friend was convinced to try it as I had just explained the past few moments. We both dug our noses in it. This time, I knew where the echoing was coming from. My mind was a few seconds behind my senses. Everything I saw, heard, and felt was like deja vu, intense deja vu. I had seen patterns, this odd green and red swirling saying something like, game over. I saw it everywhere, making the swirling pattern out of everything I saw. The TV screen, the computer monitor, the odd crisscrossing of the wood under the kitchen chairs. But I had seen all this before. Somewhere, online perhaps. Yeah, somewhere online I saw a movie of what this was like. But of course, after coming down again, I tried to search for this vision of this movie I had seen. Nothing. More times I huffed, euphoria now, yet that deja vu still set in. The last thing I remembered that night was watching Fear and Loathing, all curled up and seeing scenes that upon rewatching the movie showed that those scenes had never existed. Fast forward about a month later. Two of my other friends and I began watching Fear and Loathing, and we said ether. Why not? I had vials of it now. I was producing it to sell here and there, so I grabbed one and started in. This time, however, I did more than I've ever done. I hit my plateau and kept going. I fell out of my chair. My friend was talking to me incoherently. He was trapped in a well, he told me. He slapped my hand. I pulled my hand away quickly and almost took a third-person perspective on what was going on. My hand to my elbow fell off and started to slinky around, just end over end, and my friend who decided to not participate watched my hand. Suddenly, he locked eyes with me and didn't move. I started to move my legs, but they moved spastically, but I saw him doing it, not myself. He realized what was going on with the legs and started to hit them, saying something like, "Stupid legs, they need to stop." He watched them stop going so spastically, then into a square step-like pattern. He grabbed the legs and screamed, "I got it!" I don't know what I got, but it seemed like the view I was looking at this whole mess was from a deep view into fate. I saw my friend doing these things in my mind, yet I would involuntarily do them immediately afterwards, like he was my voodoo doll of myself. I suddenly saw my arm reaching for the doorknob outside, and I ripped it open and ran. I ran across the yard, no shoes, with snow on the ground. I saw things everywhere, this repetition of what had just happened and what was going to happen. Again, I thought I had seen this online somewhere and could understand it as a warning someone had made about ether and what happens if you took too much. Your body just dies and your mind gets trapped in this world of a third-person view of fate and reliving what had just happened. This continuous loop of what would happen and what had. I thought, I need to break this loop, run to the store. That would change this line of fate. No shoes. Go to the house. No, the garage window. Break it. You wouldn't just break it for no reason. Break it. Break this like a fate. But suddenly I could see breaking this window would be a new part of the line of fate. No way to escape. Suddenly my dad opened the door and told me to get inside. I went in. He could smell the ether, asked me what it was, and I realized I was out of that third-person view. I said I don't know what it is. I was out of my car looking for my iPod cord. I went to tell my friends what had happened. They were scared because of the screaming and then the running outside. I tried to explain this fate thing, but nothing. I just curled up and went to bed. To this day, I haven't done ether that hard, just small little hits to get a small buzz. I was scared to death of being stuck in that place of fate, and I am still not sure if it could still happen.
Last month I decided to huff some ether. I'd done it once and I'd kind of freaked out. I was told that I'd tried to jump out of my friend's car on the highway, but I don't remember doing that. I thought since I knew what to expect I would be able to control myself. Wrong. This time I had one of my friends watch me to make sure I didn't have a repeat of the last time I did it. I extracted some of the ether from starter fluid, put it on a rag and started huffing. Immediately my mind started going in circles. I felt as if everything happened in a pattern. I realised that this was exactly what I felt the last time I did it, but I just kept going. I felt as if I was going insane. I couldn't make sense of anything. At one point I thought my arm had turned into a box that I was trapped inside. I was trying to get out of it, but I couldn't. I heard a voice laughing at me because I couldn't escape. My friends told me that as I was trying to get out, I was waving my arms around and screaming. Well, the box disappeared along with the right side of my body, and then I saw all of my existence coming to an end right in front of me. I was coming to a point where everything, including myself, would be gone. Needless to say, I was scared shitless. Imagine being pulled up the hill of a roller coaster, looking over the first drop and seeing the track end right at the ground. For the first time in my life, I felt what it was like to know that I was about to die. But right when I thought it was all over, I was reborn. I snapped back into reality with the best feeling I'd ever had. Everything was new and beautiful. I've been sober ever since.
I never quite understood the Hunter S. Thompson quote until tonight. I typed this with great difficulty and continuous spelling corrections because I'm still somewhat under the influence of the devil ether. Also note while reading this report that I am a person who prefers psychedelics over alcohol and other drugs. The binge started at a party at around 11 o'clock. 2 others joined me, and we inhaled from a rag for about 5 minutes. We returned to the normal drunken crowd of the party and were greeted with cheers of, "My God, what the fuck is that smell? It smells like ammonia." I decided it would be a good thing to leave the general crowd and chill outside for a while. I went outside and one person came with, and we hit the ether for about another 15 minutes straight. Next, a few friends saw what was available and joined us. The next thing I knew, literally, a circle of 10 had formed and was taking turns with the stuff. I continued with them for the whole time, 2 hours total, and was proclaimed a hero by many and became progressively more intoxicated as the night went on. I understand the quote now because the only urges to stop came at the beginning and were replaced by stronger urges to do more. There was no thought at all the rest of the night that I was doing something stupid or that I should stop. Very dangerous and addictive stuff, and not something I like to have around me very often. I believe the large circle prevented me from doing too much more than anything. A total loss of inhibitions was noted as well, and an extreme amount of energy considering the nature of the substance. Will I do it again? Probably, but then again I'm still feeling it and wanting more, so this opinion will likely change in the morning. Be careful with ether.